job in the sustainability sector. It's a rewarding career. It could also help create a healthier future for us all. Paul Ng is CEO of the TG Group. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning, Michelle.
Great to speak with you. Now, there's very many perceptions of what a green job is, installer of solar panels or wind turbines, heat pumps, maybe even conservationists working in nature reserves. Help us understand the broad definition of green jobs.
Okay. In my understanding of the green job is usually defined as jobs that reduce the environmental impact of enterprises and economic sectors. Ultimately, it's to levels that are sustainable. So this definition covers work in agriculture, industry, services, and administration that contribute to preserving or restoring the quality of the environment while also meeting the criteria for decent work. So this means it includes things like adequate wages, safe working conditions, workers' rights, social protection, etc.
So basically, anyone who wants to work in the green revolution in some way that can help improve or restore environmental quality might be looking out for a green job. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because in my thinking is that every job can potentially become greener.
Okay. I like that twist. Definitely. But I understand when it comes to the present situation, the Singapore government is really hoping to push this and create more jobs by 2030, some 50,000 in fact. Help us understand the current state of the green job market here in Singapore.
Okay, according to LinkedIn, I think they have done a so-called a survey. It say that from the 2016 to 2021, there's an increase of more than 30% for corporation looking for sustainability managers. So, and also followed by other jobs such as the wind turbine technician, solar consultant, ecologist, and so on and so forth. So I think the economy is moving into this direction, and we see more and more companies are looking for green job profession.
Yeah, as Singapore looks to establish itself as a trading hub for carbon, jobs in the green economy are expected to help businesses decarbonize, for example. Those are expected to be hot, or jobs that help a business implement net zero strategies are also expected to be in hot demand. We're always looking out for actionable insight for our listeners. So help us understand what factors you think are really contributing to increasing demand for green jobs here in Singapore and maybe also the region.
Okay, so maybe we start from Singapore. Because of this, what we understand of this, the country initiative for the net zero initiative. So the government actually worked through 5 ministries together to push this particular initiative. So with that, more jobs are created. I think more companies are become aware of this, the importance of these sustainability methods. And one particular movement which I think is important is that is the ESG requirement, the declaration for all the big MNC, that they have to follow the international financial reporting standard, disclosure of these environmental initiatives. So this is actually become one of the requirements, mandatory requirement by ACRA, or also known as the Accounting and Corporate Regulatory Authority. So I think with all these policy makers, when they establish the rules and regulations and the awareness created, I think more and more green jobs will be available in Singapore. So similarly, this whole thing will be spread to the region as well, because it's an international movement. It's not just a Singapore or just a region.
It is an international movement. That's why you want to keep abreast of the sunrise industry. We're talking about green jobs today, and who better to speak about this with than the TG Group. They're a globally renowned HR recruitment agency headquartered right here in Singapore, and Paul Ng is the CEO of the TG Group. Paul, what sort of jobs or green roles are you seeing across sectors and industries?
Okay, we begin to see more. I mean, there are many such jobs available in various industries. So, like for example, in the IT industry, we realize that nowadays we are more and more digital. So, through the digital transformation, so we use less paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, all the digital transformation, we allow the workforce to stay at home, to work remotely. So, we actually reduce the travel, the transportation. So we reduce the carbon emission. So these are all the small steps many companies are taking today to achieve the green objectives.
Just some steps there. Because you mentioned that Singapore is looking to establish itself as a hub of sorts in this area with its carbon services or carbon trading, which roles do you think are going to be really critical if Singapore wants to establish that goal?
I think it is important for all of us to realize the importance of the climate changes. Right. So I think with the recent climate changes, all of us suffer. I mean, we see countries have the severe flood and these so-called the bad weather, so on and so forth. So I think this is something that is very related and immediately related to all of us. So once with this understanding and the awareness, then we start looking around our jobs and our daily activity. What are the things that we can do better so that we can save the planet, right? And we can help to contribute in this whole climate changes for the better.
Yeah, I mean, just this morning, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange was impacted by severe weather because of, the typhoon signal. It's, we're seeing a black rainstorm warning being issued by Hong Kong. And so you're seeing climate change really impacting seriously public services right now in Hong Kong. Let's talk a little bit, bring it back to home when we talk about green jobs here in Singapore. What do you think could be some of the economic implications if we do have a thriving green job market here in Singapore?
I think in terms of the economic implication, that would mean that we will do better in terms of all the green activity. And that will also mean that in some cases, that will mean we will have to go through this temporary increase in cost. Because, maybe in the past, we say, for example, packaging, they were just conveniently use a lot of plastic. But today, when they think of something greener, they have to be more innovative, they have to use different material so that it's more sustainable. Right. So I think in every industry, we all will go through some level of so-called a temporary adjustment. So during this transition period, I think the government, the industry, and the workforce all come together and work together until we can achieve a green economy.
This is really interesting how the government and the private sector are working towards this eventual scenario of a green economy. It's going to pan out. But how are we positioning ourselves for this today as workers is what we're interested in. Now, in terms of labor, 97% of organizations in the energy and utilities sector here say they have difficulty finding the talent they need. This compared with a global average of 79%. So it seems like there's a labor crunch when we talk about green jobs here in Singapore. What is your opinion, Paul? Why do companies seem to struggle to find the right talent here?
I think to answer this issue, my thinking is always this. I mean, we always live in this forever changing world, right? So what green? We have to therefore understand what sort of skills are required for this particular business or activity. A lot of skills are transferable. Yeah. So whatever can be transferred, we transfer. Whatever is not available, then we learn. We will train and learn and create awareness. So when learning is concerned, it's not merely just someone go and learn it but also the company has to take the initiative
Yes.
to promote environmental, including but not limited to things like software, things like, for example, the workflow, the work design, right? So therefore, after a while, once it's all put in place ready, then we will have the so-called the green skill workers. The basic things are still there, I would imagine.
The companies need to take the lead, is what you're saying, when it comes to allowing for this reskilling or additional skills required. Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Yeah.
Say like, for example, if we become more green, we'll do more solar energy. Yeah, we use more solar energy.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about solar energy, then we go back to the basic of the science, right? So, in fact, all these skills that are already there. It's just that what make a green economy, what make a green product is that product, right? So once that product is defined already, the workflow is defined already, the whole working ecosystem is defined already, then you put the skill set there, you put the skill workforce there.
So as you mentioned at the top of the hour, and what we're speaking with Paul Ng, who's CEO of the TG Group, they can get you a job. They're a globally renowned HR recruitment agency headquartered in Singapore. They have a presence in over 50 markets worldwide. Remind me, Paul, to send you my CV after this as well. I think that might be crucial. Help us understand the sort of diversity of roles and also the skills that are needed for some of these green jobs because there's such a diversity of roles.
Yeah. Because every job can be greener. So therefore, it is difficult to just say, we need this particular skill. I think the most important skill, in my personal opinion, is mindset.
Mindset. Mm-hmm.
Mindset. Yeah. Really, when we really diagnose all the green jobs with the various small sectors, there's really nothing new. The mindset, what is green? So once we have the mindset aligned and agreed and implemented, then we will therefore be able to carry out the job properly, and it will be a greener job.
So you mentioned businesses should take the lead when it comes to allowing for skilling, embedding these skills into job processes. What are you seeing with the collaboration between businesses, government, even educational institutions here in Singapore? Are they working to support the growth of green jobs?
I personally do believe so, especially with the latest ACRA requirements of the declaration, the disclosure of these ESG, of which one important factor is environmental. I think this will actually drive a lot of organizations to be more focused on these sustainability matters.
Yeah, regulation definitely leading the way, it appears, here in Singapore. Is ESG here to stay? For those businesses listening in, wondering, how much they have to pivot, is ESG within organizations here to stay? And do you expect this hiring optimism that we're seeing right now to increase, maybe accelerate going forward, Paul? Are you with us, Paul? Yep.
Yes,
go ahead. Deep in thought. Okay, go ahead.
It's quite a broad question. Yes. I think, in my opinion, I think this will definitely accelerate. And then to all this, like you mentioned earlier, the government, the education, the enterprises, as well as the workforce, all come together. This will definitely create a green economy, and more such initiatives will be carried out. Yeah. But to name a particular specific cases or these scenario, I think that's challenging because like what I mentioned earlier, when something is greener, it's actually in every sector. It's not just limited to packaging, not just limited to the waste management. It also involves the supply chain management, including but not limited to healthcare, food. You can do too many. It's almost everything.
Yeah, so I won't ask you what are the hot jobs now in this area, because they're probably, too many right now.
Yes, too many.
You mentioned sustainable facilities manager, right?
Say it again.
Sustainable Facilities Manager. Was that something you mentioned at the top of the program?
It's what we call the sustainability officer.
Sustainability officer. Basically, the people looking at compliance within businesses. Is that right? To ensure that businesses are in compliance with laws and guidelines, environmental laws.
I think not just like on top of that, they also look into how to redesign the workflow, how to meet the requirements.
Yes. So exciting, Paul. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully, you will help many listeners out there position themselves for new jobs. Not just because of what you've shared with us over the last 20 minutes, but also moving forward. We've been looking at the very exciting future for jobs and what it means for you. If you're interested, the Singapore government sure is. It's hoping to create some 50,000 green jobs by 2030. And we've been exploring the sort of opportunities, incredible opportunities in sustainable employment. Right here on Money FM 89.3. I'm Michelle. My guest today, Paul Ng, CEO of the TG Group. They're an HR recruitment agency headquartered right here in Singapore. They have a presence in over 50 markets worldwide.